I love that song. Thanks, Benny. Hey, everybody, this is Jessica Butts, and I am taking over Chat with Women show this week, and we are talking everything type. Benny, I'm super excited to be here.
I'm so excited this week as well. You've got me packed full of information. Let's do this.
I do. Good. So before we get started, I guess all the listeners should probably know a little bit about who the heck they're listening to Tuesday through Friday of this week. I am a local and licensed psychotherapist with a private practice right here in Bellevue, Washington, where I see couples and adult individuals. And I am also a certified Myers-Briggs trainer and speaker where I do one-on-one consultations on type. I conduct team building events for companies, and I speak around the country to women's organizations on personality type, authenticity, healthy detachment, core values, and how to implement these into your life so you can accomplish magnificent things, which is the name of my training company. And again, I'm so thrilled to be able to be here today and be here all week to talk to you guys about my favorite topics. I absolutely love talking about type. I do workshops. In fact, I have one coming up on June 22nd, and I'll be giving away one of those today. So listen in, and we are going to have a ton of fun talking about this. So if anyone wants to follow along with me today and find out a little bit more about me, before we get started, you can follow me on my website, which is simply jessicabutts.com, and I'll be referencing that a couple of times throughout, as I have lots of information there on type, and you can find out more there. And you can also follow all of my social networking things. You can tweet me or Facebook me or Pinterest or any of those stuff. It's all at the top of my website. So, Benny, we're going to be talking some type today.
All right.
Good. I got a week ahead, all kinds of good stuff. Today, we're going to be talking about the basics of type. We're going to go over the 4 dichotomies, which I've actually done on a different show on our fabulous sister girl, Debbie Whitlock's Femination show. But we're going to go over all of the type basics today. So hopefully you guys can follow along throughout the week. We're going to go over introversion, extroversion, sensing, intuition, thinking, feeling, and judging and perceiving today. And then tomorrow, we're going to dive even deeper. I've got a fabulous guest lined up for tomorrow. Her name is Chris Prochaska, and she is a former therapist and a coach now. And we are going to dive deep into intuition, which I have a hunch that the majority of the listeners to KKNW are, in fact, probably intuitive types. So we're going to have a really fun discussion with that tomorrow. Thursday, I'm a little bit off on my days. It seems like Monday with the holiday. But Thursday, we are going to be talking about the importance of type in business. So knowing yourself first so that you can be in better relationship with others is, to me, the whole point of understanding type. And so we're going to talk about that in relation to business. And I'm going to have a friend call in, Karen Lynn Marsh. She's calling all the way from New York City. And she's going to be calling in and talking about how type has impacted her business. And then Coach Elise Touche is going to be joining me. She's also a fellow Myers-Briggs type expert, and we're going to have a ball talking about, again, just the importance of knowing yourself so that you can read the people that you're working with better and not pathologize, but really validate and understand who you're working with. And last but not least, Friday, we're going to wrap up the week, and we're going to talk with everyone's favorite money girl and host of Femme Finance and my good friend Debbie Whitlock. She's going to be joining me to talk about type and money. So that is our week. But let's get back to today and what we're going to be talking about today. I want to spend the first couple of minutes with you guys talking about why I believe type is so utterly important and really why I've dedicated my entire life and my career to type. I do absolutely believe in type. I believe that it is the foundation. I like to think about this when I talk with my therapy clients about building the foundation of your house. So laying down literally the concrete foundation. And I believe that understanding your type is part of that. Before you can build around it other tools and other things in your life, you have to know who you are. And so that is what type is. It is validating. Again, it's understanding innately who you are. There's always somebody that wants to arm wrestle me about whether type is innate or whether it changes over time. And again, I probably would not win the arm wrestle, but I will win this argument in that type is innate, meaning the babies that all you ladies have right now they're growing up with their personality type right now, that is going to be their type for life. So a whole nother soapbox that I could get on this week, but I don't have time, is parenting and loving your kids for who they are now so that they can grow up in a world where they feel comfortable being who they are. It leads me to think about some of the new authors that are out there right now. They're really these amazing female, brilliant thought leaders. Danielle Laporte, who writes Firestarter Sessions. Brené Brown, as I'm sure so many of you have heard about, who's the author of Daring Greatly and talks about authenticity. One of my favorite writers as a therapist who works a lot with addiction is Melody Beattie, who is the mother, if you will, probably grandmother at this time. She's been writing so long about codependency. All of them, in all of their books, talk about knowing who you are. But as much as I love these ladies, they don't give a foundation for kind of figuring out what that is. There's a lot of people out there struggling with that question. Who am I? One of my very favorite questions, it's like the tagline on my website. It's one of the things that spurred me to start this company is, who are you? Where are you going? And how are you going to get there? And that first question is fundamental and a big part of why I do type. So, one of my favorite things that I like to talk about is the balance in a relationship between, on one side, kind of your left-handedness is love me for who I am, which I'm totally getting a tattoo of. My 40th birthday is coming up, and I'm kind of obsessed with starting off my...
Let me be clear, though. It's all about location. It's like buying a house, okay? It's very important.
How about shoulder?
I'm not going to say it's your personal choice. I'm saying location.
My husband would very much like me to start with a t-shirt. Like, can't you, babe, just go get a t-shirt printed? You can wear it every day if you want. I tried to get a henna this week at Folklife Festival, but the line was out the door.
Wow.
So anyway, I digress as I normally do. Oh, I've done a Sharpie. I did. Right. It rubs off too fast. Anyway, wow. Okay. So love me for who I am. And then knowing how to love others, which leads me into the 5 love languages and type and all of that, some of my favorite tools. So I guess I should mention real quickly too, on July 25th, I'm hosting an event for the Chat with Women Ladies where we're actually going to be talking about the 5 love languages. So to find out more about that, you can go to the KKNW website. But I am passionate about self-exploration, figuring out who you are so that you can ask for the love that you want, asking for the love that you want and knowing how to get that, and then conversely, how to give love to the people in your life. So there, to me, is quite a teeter-totter of love me for who I am and loving the people in your life for who they are to get the most out of your life. So I'm a firm believer in the more we know, understand, and explore about ourselves, the better we move through this world. We can start to accomplish magnificent things in our lives once we embrace our full self. And that is the good, bad, ugly, and beautiful. It's really all parts of who we are. The Myers-Briggs Type Indicator, some of you may know of it as the MBTI, is the start of that process. It's an excellent tangible tool to help in the self-exploration process. And that is what we're going to talk about today. We're going to spend the next kind of 3 segments, the next 45 minutes, talking about, again, the 4 dichotomies. It's probably all we'll have time to get to today, but it is fantastic start, and then there's tons of information to go from there. And the next 3 days, we're going to build on that. And again, if you're interested in more information, I do have a workshop coming up. You can find out more about that on my website at jessicabutts.com. But for now, we're going to jump into our very first break, and you're listening to Jessica Butts on the Chat with Women Radio Network.
Good. Good job.
Is that okay?
Perfect. You can just slow down a little bit.
Yeah.
The first one, everyone kind of rushes.
Yeah.
Just take a breath. That's all. You're doing great. I mean, I got nothing for you.
Okay. Thank you. And tell me if you do. So now, hopefully, I can slow down because now I have
that out of the way.
Yeah, right. That was a little less clear where I was going to go with that. The rest of it.
You definitely want to, since you are on all this week, if that's the constant hosting job, is to tell people who you are, because other shows are usually in the slot, you know what I mean? So,
Ooh, okay.
It's just a quick reminder. Say, don't forget this week, it's going to be me, the host, all week long, and again, we're talking about Myers-Briggs and the different types.
Perfect.
Just a little, and even after, like...
Because they're flipping. I need to remember.
Yeah, and even if so, these little things.
But taking over the Chat with Women radio show this week, and we are talking everything type. We are talking about how you can accomplish magnificent things in your life through type. I feel like I should tell the story about, I told it with Chat with Women ladies last week about, I'm actually touching my necklace if anyone's watching me online, but the way that I named my company Accomplish Magnificent Things was, there is this necklace line, and my husband gave me this beautiful, beautiful necklace, and it's supposed to be every time you put it on, you say to yourself, I'm going to accomplish magnificent things today. And I saved it for years and years and years, the little saying. And when I started my company, I was like, that's it. That is it to me. I want to accomplish magnificent things in my life, and I want other people to be able to accomplish magnificent things in their life. And I believe you do that by understanding who you are. So that's what we're going to spend the next 45 minutes talking about. Again, this is Jessica Butts, and we are going to dive right in with introversion and extroversion. So this is, everyone hears this. These are very, very common words. People know about introversion and extroversion, but I don't think people really get a deep understanding of what it is and how it matters in your life. So I'm going to spend the next few minutes talking through this. If anybody has questions that they want to ask me, feel free to text me, and I will try to get to them as they come through. So,
or you can give us a call here at the studio. I'll be more than happy to field them too.
Fantastic.
Yep, number 425-373-5527 or 298-5569.
Thank you, Benny. Okay, so we are going to jump in back to type and how we can accomplish magnificent things. This is our orientation of energy, where we like to give our energy and where we like to get energy. Extroverts, not surprisingly, are energized by their outer world. They like to focus on people and things. They give their best self to the world. So this is a very interesting one. As an extrovert, your dominant type, which is a whole nother show that maybe we'll be able to get to this week, your dominant type in this world is extroversion, which means you are giving your best self to the world. Conversely, introverts save their best self for themselves. It's a very powerful thing to think about, and you can see how dramatically that affects relationships, where an introvert, it's just innately, it's not really a choice. They just save their best self for themselves. And again, extroverts are giving that away. We also, extroverts, wear our heart on our sleeve, meaning this is how we're showing up in the world, how we are at work, how I am on the radio right now, how I am with my clients. Extroverts are always, or typically, who they are all the time. It's easy to see them. If you can imagine a heart on your sleeve right now, everyone can see that. Introverts, on the other hand, imagine, if you will, that heart on the inside of your sleeve. So if Benny's heart is on the inside of his sleeve, I have to get really close to him to see who he really is innately.
Well, without invading my bubble, right?
Well, that
That's topic for another.
It is.
Oh, okay.
It is.
All right.
But the point is, I have to get to know you.
Right.
Because what you're giving off to the world is your auxiliary type, which is a whole other topic again. But this is good to know, because I think introverts get this statement a lot of, oh gosh, I never knew that about you, or you're really hard to get to know. And it's because their heart is on the inside of their sleeve. So extroverts, sometimes you need to shut up and quit talking so that you have time to hear out the introverts in the world. It's not that they don't have things to say. It's not that they don't want to have things to say. We just have to give them a space to do that.
That's all about them.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I think one of the best parts about the workshops that I do, and it's been fascinating, the more and more I do them, the longer this exercise gets, because there's so much energy and so much to learn around this exercise, which is I separate the extroverts from the introverts. And if anybody ever doesn't know which one they are, this exercise certainly helps them figure that out. I ask the extroverts, what do you think about introverts? And what do you want introverts to know about you? And then, of course, I ask the introverts the same question about extroverts. What do you think about extroverts? And what do you want them to know about you? And nothing is off the table. I just want you to brainstorm and go for it and see what comes up. It's pretty rare that there's not some crying going on, because it is shocking, absolutely shocking to extroverts and introverts alike to realize how they're being seen in the world. We're all so egocentric, every single one of us. We live in our own world. And when we can start to come to a place of learning and see how other people see us, it can be absolutely mind-blowing and rather shocking. On my business page, you can look me up. It's on my website if you're interested in looking that up. I always take a picture of the brainstorming sessions from these workshops, and I post them to get other people's ideas so that you can see what people are saying. And it's absolutely, again, it just blows people's minds to hear introverts say that extroverts need to shut up. They're loud, they're bossy, they're intrusive, they're crude, they're rude. I mean, these words really bring up emotions for people. And on the other hand, extroverts often say introverts are quiet. The most interesting one recently I heard is selfish, because they save their best self for themselves. And I just found that absolutely fascinating that people would see that as selfish. But I guess as an extrovert who wants you to engage, I want to hear from you, I want to know what's going on with you, that they could see that as selfish. And I find all of this amazing. Okay, so moving on, there's extroverts also say it before they think it. So this is kind of a long-standing joke I have, that if I ever went back to get my PhD, knowing that this is obviously not true, I would be so interested in cracking open the brains of introverts and looking for this said filter that introverts have, that literally, guys, extroverts don't have. Introverts think it before they say it. They think about things. They're mulling things over. Extroverts are external processors. They talk. They think as they talk. I was just talking to Chris Prochaska yesterday, who's going to be on my radio show, and I was externally processing. I told her, I said, okay, just bear with me for a second. I'm literally talking as these thoughts are coming to me, but that is how I do my best thinking. And introverts, on the other hand, they are internal processing. It's not as if nothing's going on there. Of course there's things going on. It's just happening internally. So, of course, that leads me to think we need extroverts. Clearly, I'm an extrovert by the we language I'm using. We need to stop talking sometimes and listen and take time. So, when I do business meetings for people, or I'm doing trainings for businesses, this is one of the hot topics that comes up. So we do a full day or a half day workshop. And part of what we talk about, of course, is introversion, extroversion. And in meetings, typically, I mean, most businesses have plenty of meetings. I hear, the Microsofties out there in the world have way too many meetings, but those meetings, typically an extrovert is going to put the meeting together. Typically they're going to put the agenda together, and typically they're running the meeting. So they are, okay, good, everything good? Okay, great, next agenda item. And they're on to agenda item 3, 4, 5, 6. And many times the introverts in the room are still back at 1 or 2 thinking, wow, I still have some things to say. And they haven't had an opportunity because the extroverts are running over them. They are continuing to move on without slowing down and hearing from other people. So I'm so curious, who are my extroverts and my introverts, and then who are the people who are a little unsure? And that's okay. There's apparently this new hybrid out there that I don't really believe in it. I gotta be honest. I don't think you can not be an extrovert or an introvert, because there's so much more to this. This is the tip of the iceberg. We're talking about just the 4 dichotomies. And again, there's layers and layers and layers underneath this. Think of it as an iceberg. How much more mass, how much more stuff there is underneath the surface. And in order to know all of that, you've got to be able to know where you get primarily your energy from. So picking a preference of extroversion versus introversion. I like to think about it as we move on with the rest of these dichotomies is a handwriting example. So if you're driving, please don't do this while you're driving, but you can imagine it. Or if you're sitting at your desk, you may actually want to follow along with me. Imagine, so write your name, literally write your name. It doesn't, I'm not checking on it. Just write your name with your dominant hand. And you can think of some words that come to you. Easy, comfortable, just simple. And then if you write your name with your non-dominant hand, how that feels. Typically people are laughing, they feel uncomfortable, it's awkward, it's scary, it's messy. This is the way that you could think about the 2 different dichotomies. You have both. You are able to do both. I am able to write my name with both of my hands, but one is much, much more preferable. I have a preference for that. So I'm a strong extrovert, but do I have an introverted side? Absolutely. Absolutely. But it is not my preference to get my energy. Most of the time, I get my energy from being with people. And so that is a great way to think about that. Because in my workshops, I always have someone say, but Jessica, I'm both. And I say, yep, you are both. And think about your handedness. If I'm going to throw a ball at Benny right now, almost 100% of the time, he's going to go to his dominant hand because it's comfortable, it's easy, it's his go-to. So as we go into break, let that sink in a little bit. This is Jessica Butts. We're taking over the Chat with Women Radio Network this week. And when we come back, we're going to dive into the next dichotomy, which is one of my favorites. And we're going to spend all day tomorrow talking about it, the difference between sensing and intuition.